Hi everyone, good morning. Today we are going to meet Mrs. Chandra Ramasamy, who is a English teacher in Malaysia, who is also interested in history. Now she will share her experience about her recent visit to Kanchanapuri. Good morning, madam. We are very happy to interview in our Akil TV, ma'am. What is the reason for the name Siam Burma Death Railway?
Good morning. Siam Burma Death Railway. Siam is the old name for Thailand, and Burma is another country. So the Japanese built a railway line connecting the two countries for their own benefit to send supplies to Burma so that they can attack China. During this process, they have to build a connecting road because the sea route has been uh, taken over by the British. So they had to find an alternative route. So that's why they built this railway line, which is about 418 kilometers in length.
Oh,
Death railway, why we call this a death railway? Because thousands and thousands of people were involved in this construction, and there are two groups of people involved in this construction. Mainly the POS means the prisoner of war, which include the British, the Americans, the Russians, the Vietnamese, the Indonesians, and many others. And we also have workers, ordinary people who were uh, encouraged to come and work for the Japanese. The Japanese promised them pay, that is $1 per day, and also good food and safe settlement for them to stay. So many of the workers, especially Tamil workers who had come from India to work in Malaysia, they were encouraged to go for this construction, mainly because during the Japanese occupation, which is from 1941 to 1945, the Japanese were faced with many challenges, especially from the Americans and the British. And the British, they were the colonial masters of Malaya at that time. And when the Japanese came, the British abandoned Malaysia and they went back to England. So during this time, the Tamilians mainly they had no work, and therefore there is no food. So their suffering was more than before. So to overcome these sufferings, they believed in the words of the Japanese, and they followed the Japanese to Kanchanapuri or to Thailand to work in this construction. And they also had Tamilians from Burma taking part in the construction from the northern side. So this route, two countries were involved, that is the Siamese and the British, and the Japanese built their construction from Thailand to Burma and from Burma to Thailand. So two groups of people were working together to build this railway line, which is 418 kilometers in length. The Japanese needed this line because they need to send supplies to Burma. And the Japanese were also very keen to take over India one day. And the Japanese at that time, they have just came back with modernization of Japan, and they were eager to colonize many of the countries in Southeast Asia and also in Asia, particularly India. They have already, from Sino-Japanese War, Russo-Japanese War, they have shown their power. During the Russo-Japanese War, the Japanese, for the first time, an Asian power managed to defeat a Western power. So that has given them the moral boost to go and conquer other countries. So they have conquered many of the country, and finally they came to Malaysia. And in Malaysia, from Malaya, they find it easier to go to Burma and then to capture India. They wanted to spread, or they wanted to have a what do you call an empire, a Japanese empire in Asia. So that is the reason they needed this railway line. We call this a death railway line because many lives were sacrificed in the building or the construction of these railways. Mainly workers from Tamil Nadu, from Andhra Pradesh, Indonesia, especially from Sumatra. We have Chinese. And in this process, the Japanese too lost their lives. Many of the Japanese also lost their lives. So it is a process where many lives were lost because the leaders felt that this railway line, which in their survey, which showed that it will take 5 years, but it was made to complete within 2 years. In fact, this railway line was once British. They attempted to build a railway line, but they considered this is an impossible mission, and therefore they left this project. But the Japanese came, they did the survey, and they said they can do it. It's the only route for them to conquer India. So that is the reason. Yeah, for every sleeper, a railway line, they have sleepers. So every sleepers, they say one life is lost. That many lives were lost in this construction of this death railway. Therefore, it was given this name, Siam Burma Death Railway.
Okay, Ma. Who are the people the Japanese make use of the construction of this railway? What are the hardship faced by these workers, in your opinion?
As I said, the POS, the prisoners of war from many of the Western countries, and the Asian workers from mostly from Malaya. And Malaya means most of the laborers were Tamil laborers for the Indians because they had come from India to Malaysia and they were not given proper place to stay and to eat. So they felt hardship. So to overcome this hardship, they looked for another alternative place. And the promise from the Japanese encouraged them to follow them to Thailand. So besides the Tamilians, we also have Indonesians and we also have Malay. In Malaya, we have the Malays too went to work. Very few Chinese went to work, and those Chinese who went to work there, they were mainly concentrating in steel work. So they needed people to build the slippers, and they need the iron. So in Malaya we mine tin ore and also iron ore. So they needed all these metals to construct these mines. So they needed the expertise from the Chinese.
Okay. Madam, why do you think public should know about the sacrifice of these people?
Yeah. Um, as we know, during 1941, World War II has started. So the world was mostly concerned about World War II. Nobody was aware, or I shouldn't say aware, people were less concerned about the railway line which was being constructed by the Japanese. The Japanese, so two things were happening simultaneously, and therefore the world lost their attention towards this issue. The Japanese, they did not foresee many of the hardships. And when they brought in big numbers of people, food supply was not adequate, and proper living conditions was not proper, and therefore many people died due to cholera, dysentery, and also unhygienic conditions of the places of stay. They were made to stay in bamboo huts. So, yeah, so in these places, and also attack from wild animals, and also attack from mosquitoes. Many of them mosquitoes spread malaria, and many people died of malaria, and also flies. Flies, is very unhygienic insects which bring about lot of sufferings for these people, and these people suffered for no reason. They went there to work, but due to unpredictable conditions, these people suffered and died, lost their lives for no reason. No innocent lives were lost. So the world only paid attention to the world war, which is a glamorous war between the big powers. What about the ordinary people who went to work here? So these people also should be the writers should have focused on them, and the governments involved should have taken steps to help these people. But nothing was done for these people. They died, and they were buried in large numbers, huge numbers. In one hole, they placed at least 10,000s of people. So tens of thousands of people were buried in one ground, in one cemetery, we call it. So this is not something that is needed for a life. In life, life should be respected. There must be dignity. Even in death, there must be dignity. But there was no dignity for these people. They died in deplorable conditions. Why? We have to ask these questions. And history teaches us lessons. So we have to heed to these lessons so that we know what to do in the future, and we cannot be blindly following others as what they promise may not come true. So these are lessons which you have to take from these incidents.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you, ma'am.